Hello everyone. My name is Brittany Lewis. I am a freelance artist, author, and illustrator. And I'm at How Design Live on behalf of the Graphic Artists Guild, where I had an opportunity to sort of stretch out of my comfort zone and to step beyond what I would normally do and kind of expand myself a little bit and do interviews. And this was my first time interviewing anybody. I've been interviewed plenty of times, and if you've ever met me at a convention, then you know I don't have a problem talking about things that I love to talk about. So I can get a little bit chatty. But this was the first time that I had to approach people and ask questions to people I don't know, I've never seen before. So that in and of itself was a little bit of a scary um, experience at first. But once I kind of got into the groove of things made a few mistakes on that first day. But once I kind of got into the groove of things, it was a lot easier to do, and I had a good time doing it. So, How Design Live is pretty much a professional development conference in a nutshell. It's a professional development conference that's hosted by How Magazine, and it's a magazine I used to get many years ago. I had stopped getting them for a while, but I used to get them many years ago. And a lot of the talks had to do with not only uh, building leadership skills and working on like branding and outreach and so on and so forth, but a lot of it had to do with adjusting your mindset so that you can achieve whatever your goal is and not necessarily placing limits on your goals. And so for me, that was one of the largest takeaways that I took away from. But that was one of the biggest lessons that I learned being here at How is that it's okay for you to show up as your authentic self. There is a market for it. And one of my favorite talks was by David C. Baker, and the topic of that was that you have to be irrelevant to a lot of people, relevant to only a few people to find success. So that means you don't have to fit in with everybody. It's okay not to. It's a superpower not to. You have to find your tribe. You also have to find the people that you can best service that aligns with who you are and your goals and things that you want to achieve. So that was the biggest lesson that I learned. Another one was going back to mindset. This is something that I practice quite often is monitoring your thoughts and also your emotions because those things dictate your reality. So when I'm here, the very first day, I'm an independent artist. Um, to be vulnerable and a little transparent, I'm not where I would like to be in my career, but over the last 3 years, I would say maybe four, starting in 2019, I actively took steps in order to learn more, do the things that I really want to do, accept the clients and the projects that I want to accept, and not necessarily taking commissions just because they're offered, um, and really just trying to be a better me or trying to develop a better version of myself so that I can kind of live the life that I want to live. So it's been an ongoing process. And I think being here is a culmination of that thought process and that mindset to um, have a thought in your mind, have a goal. And I'm not completely clear. I'm still learning and growing. And I think being here taught me a lot about that. But I'm not, an expert on this. I'm still learning, right? But being somewhat clear on what it is that you want to achieve, and then the more information that you get, the clearer that picture gets, and then the easier it is for you to create those things in your reality. So just as a very quick and real time um, situation that happened when I was here, I'm an independent artist, as I mentioned. I work by myself. I'm not where I want to be in my career. I'm taking the steps to get there. So I'm in this conference surrounded by people who appear to be much more successful than I am, or maybe um, may have generational um, backing behind them. So there was one girl who spoke, and she was like seventh generation in her design, her position in her company, and they own so many different corporations and so on and so forth. And a lot of the people that I interviewed were chief marketing officers and vice presidents of big companies. So I did that. But on that very first day, it imposter syndrome hit me like a ton of bricks, and that's something that I never you kind of say, well, yeah, I felt like that, but this was an experience that I had never quite had, and I didn't know the word to put to it other than I felt like perhaps I didn't belong, right? And I was tripping. I'm gonna say that real quick. once I got to over it, it was very easy for me to say like clearly you're here for a reason, but I had to get there. So I'm feeling like, dang, I'm just Brittany from Tennessee, and I won't go into it, but it was a trip. I was feeling like I didn't belong, and I was feeling less than in that space for a hot second. It didn't take a whole lot of time, but for a hot second, I was tripping for real. And I was questioning my place in this particular situation. And then I corrected that thought and I corrected that feeling. And I started to remind myself 4 years ago, hell, 6 months ago, I wouldn't have seen myself in this position and getting to talk to and getting to know and network with the people that I was able to talk to and get to know and network with. I didn't see it. I just knew that things had to change and I was taking the necessary steps to change those things. And I was in an actually in a workshop about 3 weeks or so ago, and it was local to Memphis. And so one of the things that I mentioned there was that I've been a freelancer for about 11 years, but one of the biggest things that one of the biggest obstacles that I've had was exposure. And that has been a very repetitious aspect of my life. I wouldn't have been an artist had I not had exposure to a black art teacher, right? I am creating a tarot deck so that people can have exposure to seeing black people in positions, in high positions of spirituality, and to kind of sort of see yourself in an elevated light. And so the whole concept of that project is to create exposure for that. The clients that I work with have never worked with a professional before. And so my role becomes creating that exposure for them and giving them or creating the projects for them so that they can have the proper exposure to what it is to hire a professional, what that journey should look like, what their expectations should be in the event that they move on to another professional artist or designer. And so that role in and of itself makes me special because there's not a lot of people taking those clients. So once I kind of reminded myself of that, then I kind of snapped out of it. But remember, your mindset and your thoughts can dictate your experience and the things that you kind of go through on a day-to-day basis. So the very next day, now I'm over imposter syndrome. It came and went real fast. So I'm over it. I bounced back. I'm doing interviews left and right. I did, I think, a total of 6. 3, unfortunately, didn't record audio, but it was good practice, and I made some really good, solid connections. And so the very next day, I'm back in the swing of things, like super duper excited and ready to do these new interviews, and I'm ready to go, right? So there was a block of time for maybe about an hour where I didn't have any talks that I was interested in seeing. And so I thought that was a perfect time to go out and try to find someone to speak to. And just as a preface, and I don't feel like I should have to say this, but let me say it. When I'm approaching people, it's in a very respectful, very professional, in my humble opinion, way, because one, I'm nervous and I can't imagine, well, I can't imagine because I've been approached, but I would guess that a lot of people are nervous that I'm talking to. And I got a lot of no's from people who expressed to me that they were nervous to be on camera. And that's perfectly okay, right? I understand that. I've been in that place. So I'm doing this in a space of professionalism, also a little jittery on my behalf. But I'm trying to actively get beyond fears and get beyond um, holding myself back because there's something, embedded insecurities or whatever the case is. I'm trying to get past that. So I'm approaching people in a very respectful way. This is day 2. By this time, I'd already interviewed 6 people. I already talked to 6 folks, right? So I do approach a couple and have a great interview with them. They were willing to talk to me, and if they ever see this video, I'm so thankful. But because I had that, I ain't even gonna say because I had. Let me just tell the story, and then I'll go into that. So I'm wrapping up this interview, these two amazing people, and I'm approached by one of, or the person who runs this particular design conference. And the interaction was nice. It was nice, right? But there was an undercurrent of you don't belong here. And I think that played to the thought process from the day before of me thinking that I didn't belong here. So now I remember having a very um, impactful or very strong emotional response to feeling as if I didn't belong. And then the very next day, I'm experiencing something that mirrored that thought process. So I go through the whole thing. This is who I am. And I won't get off into too much of it. It was an unpleasant experience. But I decided, once I had my moment to like process what had happened and to gather myself, I had very quickly decided that it was not going to dictate the rest of the day. And that happened at the top of the morning. So, yes, I was pissed off about it. I wasn't happy about it. It could have been handled a lot better, could have been handled exponentially better, but it was handled the way it was handled. And I continued on with my day. And in that moment, well, after I had, my felt how I felt, I decided that I was going to continue to, well, I decided I was going to continue to interview. I did ask just to make sure, as out of respect for the conference, if it was okay for me to continue interviewing. They said yes, but I had an option to stop, go hide somewhere with my tail between my legs, uh, you know, amp up the fear or whatever the negative emotion was. But I decided, and I cuss a little bit, so if it slips, excuse me. But I ain't decided we're not doing that today. And so once that was over, I went to a couple of very amazing talks, learned a lot, networked a lot, and I was able to interview 3 more people. Had wonderful interviews, even better than the 6 I had done the day before, which were great interviews. And so I didn't allow that situation to dictate, and being mindful and resetting my mindset in the moment, the day that I was going through imposter syndrome, I think helped prepare me for the very next day when I decided that, I'm here. I'm going to continue to do this, and I'm going to get past this moment for myself. So, yeah, that was one of my big takeaways. This is a long video. I don't know yet how I'm going to post it, but if you see it in the comments below, wherever you are, wherever you're watching this, tell me about a time that maybe you didn't feel like you belonged, right? Or tell me about a time that you were afraid to step outside of your comfort zone. And as I like to explain it, I haven't heard anybody say this, but I was explaining it to my son, who's also very reserved, right? Sometimes it's not a matter of stepping outside of your comfort zone, but it is a matter of expanding your comfort zone. So maybe I do a little bit more, just a little bit, not a whole lot more, just a little bit more than I would normally do to expand myself and to grow. It's uncomfortable, very uncomfortable at first. But once you get past that discomfort, then, I mean, you're good. Everybody's nervous. Everybody's nervous. I think I spoke to maybe 1 or 2 people that were like, no, you know what? It was quite a few confident people, right? But for the most part, a lot of people were nervous. And bravo to you if you were nervous and you decided to interview with me. I truly appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. And it's been a wonderful experience, good, bad, or indifferent. It's been a wonderful experience. So without chatting it up too much, I won't hold you too long. I appreciate you for watching. My name is Brittany Lewis, BLewisArts, and I'll see you next time.